Welcome back, my friends, to the Predictive Playbook. I'm your host, John Ryan. I am here with Adam Trigger of Top Flight Sports to start Manny's Irish Pub edition. It's our favorite part of the day. We get to talk to a lot of very good professional sports bettors, not analysts, not hosts or something of the nature. The guys that are on this show are the real deal. They bet their own money with their own currency. And speaking of currency, Adam, I'm going to mention Bitcoin here. And this is a chart of Bitcoin every day. Every bar is a day. If it's red, it's a bad day, meaning that it closed below the opening of that day. If it's green, it's the direct opposite. This is the first time since December 31st of last year that Bitcoin has closed below 30,000 in the futures market. Steve Merrill and I do a show every Tuesday at roughly 2:30 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time talking about this and talking about sentiment in the marketplace and how it's exactly the same in sports betting. There are so many similarities between the financial markets and trading. For example, I love doing NBA in-game betting. If Milwaukee wins tonight, I'm going to miss it greatly. But then I do have the NFL right around the corner to help absorb that void in my life. But NBA, in-game betting, I simply took a calculation used in the financial markets for options trading called implied volatility and tweaked it a little bit so it applied to the NBA scoring and game-to-game differences between scoring levels and came up with a pretty good plan before the game even starts. So when we get into the NBA part of this segment, Adam will be talking about that as well. But I can't emphasize enough, you got to have a plan, whether you're trading Bitcoin or doing NBA in-game betting. You can't think that you're going to do it during the game or be able to react fast enough to movements in the marketplace. But looking at this chart here, which I just did a screenshot of before we went on the line, we've had a pretty precipitous downturn. Steve and I were lucky enough to get short at 58,000, and now we just closed below 30,000. But sentiment now, which ranges between roughly 10 and 90 on my gauge, is now in the teens, marking the lowest that sentiment has ever been for the Bitcoin futures since they opened a little bit about 2 years ago. So it's always interesting, Adam, to me that when the markets first traded through 30,000, and on December 31st, people that had bought Bitcoin were I bet you they were having a hell of a time celebrating because it had never been that high before, and it was on the way up, and it was like euphoria. It was like, whoa, you can believe this is at 30,000. So then we go all the way up to 65, and now coming back down, the emotional is totally different. Now it's like, oh man, it's down to 29,000 now, and it's complete role reversal with this type of stuff. And the same thing can happen with in sports betting. Major League Baseball, we see teams get up 10, 12 games over 500, and on the way up, oh man, my team's up 2 games over 500, 3, 4, 10, 8. And then when it comes back down and they start failing, it's like, oh my God, this is horrible. But on the way up, the same number of games over 500 was complete day and night difference. But this looks like we're going to have another capitulation, another Tony Finn financial term of the day, which means that one of two things is going to happen, Adam. We're either going to probably get down to about 28 and it's going to hold, and we're going to get a real nice bottom here because I still think Bitcoin is going to go above 100,000. So this is a pretty important next week, 2 weeks, month. But my gut tells me, and I've seen it, for the 40 years that I've been a trader, and I traded on the floor, I traded in the pits. I was a chief currency strategist at one time. So I would like to think I probably know more about this kind of stuff than even sports betting. But you could have a pretty dramatic sell-off here once we get conclusively through the 618 Fibonacci retracement level. And I'm not going to get into that now because Tony Finn, if he comes on the show, his hair will fall out of his head. But those are very important numbers. I actually use the Fibonacci retracement numbers in my Python applications, my machine learning stuff, they can be applied in a course of multiple industries. I use it in my Twitter apps I'm a certified Twitter developer, and those numbers keep coming up. So what that means is that from the high of 65,520 to the low right before the pandemic started of 9,000 and change, we have retraced 62% of this move, of the whole bull move, which is just absolutely alarming. It's incredible. But I do think that somewhere here we're going to get a downdraft. Maybe it could go as low as 24, 25,000, and then that's where I'm going to start nibbling based on what the picture is telling me right now. So that is a summary of the show we did today at 2:30. And as you can see, I have a pretty cool wall. Actually, it's a window, and just took a picture and put it up on there, and my New York City skyline in the background. I hope I don't fall backwards. But Adam, how's everything going since the last time we talked this morning?
Oh, it's going good, John. I'm a little bit more firm on what I want to do for the day. I know we talked NBA, we talked MLB. I plan to release MLB at some point in the next hour or two. I have not yet, but I did lock in an NBA play, and I'm on the Bucks once again. So it'll be 4 times in a row. The last 3 have worked out great, and hopefully the Bucks can do it again. And I guess it would be one last time, because if they win tonight, the season is over. So
yeah, it's an NBA tip-off show. I was listening to that, and the angle of the day they've been doing for me. I've been providing that for every single day of the week. And it is kind of disappointing that the season might be over tonight. And if it's not over tonight, it's going to be over Thursday night.
Right.
No matter what happens. You can only play so many overtimes until somebody wins.
Well, I'll say this quick. I love the fact that we've had NBA Finals through July. I think it's been great. I think it's an awesome move for the league to start later and end later.
I mean, so too.
It's been awesome having NBA to sort of break up what usually is just a kind of a downtime for sports. July is usually there's just not much going on. We've got MLB obviously, and then there's some fringe sports like WNBA and some of the other stuff, which actually is all on hiatus for the Olympics. So without NBA Finals, we really have nothing other than Major League Baseball right now. So it's been nice. I still don't understand why there's 3 games or 3 days between games, but it's been nice every couple of days to get an NBA Finals game for sure.
No question about that. Let's go into baseball here a little bit. One thing I was looking at is the Phillies. We talked about them this morning with the idea that they are now the team of destiny to win that. And I think they could be a dangerous playoff team, to say the least, because of one name being Bryce Harper. And the question I think really that they have to answer is a small one. Aaron Nola. And we talked about him a little bit this morning. And the guy has one of the biggest gaps between expected earned run average and the real one. And it's not all him. And it's one of the few times, Adam, I've never said that, the reason it is the way it is because of bad luck, or he's just lucky to have all those home runs. There is no such thing. I mean, sometimes you get fortuitous, but it reflects in the stats. But Nola, really, his ERA is basically the expected ERA based on how he has pitched, which is a fact, should be around 3.50. So I think it's enormously misleading to look at his ERA of 4.75 and think, oh my God, this guy stinks. He just got done 2 starts ago, I guess it was, or no more than 3 against the Yankees at Philadelphia. And as we said this morning, and for those that weren't with our show this morning, he went 7 2/3, 3 hits, no earned runs, I think 1 walk, and 9 Ks. And as you astutely said, Adam, the Yankees are free swingers. They swing at more pitches out of the strike zone than any team in baseball. And that's part of the problem why they can't get more guys to touch home plate that have been on base. It's not a question of their hitting. It's not a question of walk percentage. They just don't get the guys home. And that's one of the reasons why they don't. And what was the stat you had said about Aaron Nola's curveball this morning? Share that with everybody.
Yeah, so I actually picked it up off of Mets broadcast earlier in the year, and they pointed out that he has, and this is probably it was probably 2 months ago at this point, but he has the highest swing and miss percentage on his curveball in like the modern era almost. It's like goes back till they started measuring like specific swing and misses on certain pitches. So you're probably talking like 20 years. And that's specifically on his curveball. So it definitely points me to Philly. I haven't made this bet yet, but I was annoyed that I missed a little bit of a better number. I think it's like minus 125, minus 130 right now, which I'm still okay with. The other reason I haven't bet it is because the Yankees are sort of like a play-on team a little bit right now for me. I think that they could experience an uptick here, but from this, as far as this matchup is concerned, they should have trouble with Nola because of their sort of like inability to just put the ball in play. And it goes back to what John was saying, they swing and miss a lot. And you're getting a guy like Aaron Nola who gets a ton of swing and misses on that curveball. John mentioned his start against the Yankees from a couple weeks ago. He worked into the 8th inning, and I think he had 9 strikeouts. So I usually like to look at something like that and say, okay, well, the Yankees just saw him. Maybe they can make an adjustment. But it might just not be in their DNA to adjust to someone like Nola. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do anything with this game yet, but I certainly lean toward the Phillies here. I think that's the only way I could bet it. And if you get a reasonable number on Nola over strikeouts, he's gone over more than under with his strikeout prop this year, I believe. So Probably not the worst bet you can make tonight if you can get a good number on it.
I think I'm right at him. It's 60. I think he's won twice as many as he's lost on that.
Yeah,
prop.
That sounds right.
67%.
It sounds right, and I'm pretty sure he was even hotter than that in the last couple. It didn't hit, so it's probably. And I'm just going off memory there, but I know he had kind of a couple bad starts toward the end of the first half. So this could be a good spot for him to have a good outing. I don't know that I'll necessarily get there with this for a best bet, but it's absolutely the way I would bet the game if I was going to bet the game.
Yeah, and I just pulled up the StatCast numbers that I have from them that I put into my own little database and then create even more metrics from it. But Aaron Nola's launch angle that hitters are getting is 12.7 degrees. And ideally, you want to get 17 degrees as a golfer or a batter, by the way. And then a spin rate off the ball, believe it or not, in golf is 1,700 for optimal distance. So that's what you hear Bryson DeChambeau and a bunch of others, they practice with the TrackMan and do it. Well, there's a TrackMan in baseball too, obviously. And 12.7 degrees reflects that they're not they're not getting the good part of the bat on the ball. It's called barrel percentage. And Aaron Nola's K percentage is 29.5% of all batters faced, which is very high. Domingo Germán of the Yankees, by comparison, his counterpart tonight, 21.7%. Germán doesn't walk many people, but he also grooves pitches, and that's a problem. It's one thing to get first pitch strike, which is the best pitch in baseball, because after 0-1, no matter who the batter is, it could be a 300 hitter or a 350 hitter. After 0-1, whatever that batter's batting average is drops between 50 and 75 basis points and puts the pitcher in clear control, especially against the Yankees. But hard hit percentage by Nola is very good, 36.8%. Germán's is not bad, it's 39.4, but it's not 36. There's a big difference between the two. So I did want to just take a look at the the swing and misses here on his curveball. Because here I have it.
I think it's something like 60%. It's really high.
Yeah, on the overall, unfortunately, I don't have enough time to actually split up the pitches. I could do that another time. But overall, it's a very good 28.4% of all pitches thrown are swings and misses.
Okay.
Not called strikes. And 50% of all pitches thrown, batters are swinging. First pitch swing percentage is 68%, which means that, what is it? It's a strike. It's a batted ball in play, which keeps his pitching count down. Of course, it could be a home run, or it's a strike. The last thing it's going to be is a ball. You cannot swing the bat and get a ball. So that percentage is extremely good. And he also works the edges very well. 48% of all his pitches thrown are considered on the corners. And when he keeps it down, he's just as good as we said he was against the Yankees. He gets batters to chase 33% of the time, reflecting his movement. And I do have spin rates on the curve.
And I have one number to throw out there that we've talked about a couple times, and it's almost like it sort of like goes against the argument for the Phillies, but I think it's important to bring up. And it's actually probably one of the reasons I haven't made this bet yet, or may not make this bet. We talked about base runs as a statistic for the Yankees, like as far back as like 2 months ago. And then when we circled back on the Yankees, maybe 3 weeks ago, they were still minus 18 in that BSR base run statistic, which measures the number of runs a team, I think it's defined as the number of runs a team should have scored based on, how many people they got on base, so on and so forth. It's one of the sabermetric statistics. Today, entering play, the Yankees they're still last in the league, but they've come back to the pack considerably. So they were minus 18 in this category at one point. So today they're only minus 11.7, and they are catching up at least. They're still last, but they're not even close to as far back as they were, which kind of makes sense because they've been winning lately. And, that tells me that what we said was probably going to happen is starting to happen, where they're finally getting some timely hits. Now they're getting guys on base and they're getting the hit, whereas through the first 2.5 months of the season, 3 months of the season, they weren't. And that's, I guess, what would kind of keep me off this one here. If I had to pinpoint why I'm not going to bet the Phillies tonight, most likely, it's just the Yankees are starting to get some timely hits, and it's concerning to me that they just saw Nola, even though they didn't hit him. Big league hitters, and especially big league hitters like the ones the Yankees have, can make adjustments. So just something to be careful of, when you're looking at this game. But the Yankees are starting to hit. If you look back at their last sort of 10 games or so, they're starting to hit. And if this team starts to hit, they were at one point in time coming into the season minus 250 to win the AL. So to say that there's not a lot of potential here would be, would probably be incorrect based on how the odds makers had this team priced going into the season. So, the Yankees, to me right now, they're more of a play on than play against. It's probably what keeps me off the Phillies here, but really tough to go against Aaron Nola in a matchup with a team that can swing and miss quite a bit. So that's all I got in this one. Probably a pass for me, but just some things to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think we're going to welcome Rob Veno into the show. Hey, Rob.
Hey,
good job on the NBA tip-off show. I was practically in tears thinking that was the last show of the season.
We had a full crew today, John.
You did. It was
full crew.
It was a pleasure seeing the all-star lineup, as Joe Ranieri eloquently suggested. Well, not suggested, stated. It's a fact. But we're talking about the Phillies-Yankees here, as you probably heard backstage. And I think I put this on our agenda, which is on the YouTube channel. I did a breakdown of Aaron Nola. And, Adam brought this up this morning on the show. And, this is what these shows do. They get me thinking. And then with the massive databases I have available that I've built over many, many years, it's easy for me to just ask questions and get answers. Right. And he mentioned that his curveball, it gets one of the highest swings and misses of any curveball in the game over at least the last 10 years, but probably the exception of Kershaw. We'll put them together, but Kershaw was in his prime. Do you have any guess, Rob, what the spin rate is, average spin rate on Aaron Nola's curveball? I actually know what it is. I'm just asking you if you have a guess.
I mean, I could make any guess. It won't be close. I don't know. 2,100? I don't know.
25-10.
25-10.
Which I couldn't find anybody else that throws curveballs as a pitch of 25% or more of their arsenal that was even close to 2,500. Right. And above, as you said, 2,100. I've been told, and I've seen this on a pitching machine, you can't, when a guy throws a regular curveball with the seams thrown the right way, it creates a red dot for the batter. And that's how the batter immediately picks up the fact that it's a curveball. Well, with the advent of the spike curve that we showed last week and how to throw that for Steve Merrill and his son and his 10-year-old baseball team, and other ways to throw curveballs that have more of a 12-6 motion where you don't have that red dot, it's made it much harder on the hitters. And as freewheeling as those Yankee hitters are, I was shocked to see the Phillies favored. And I heard Steve Merrill say that, too. It's kind of like, wow, you just started the season, you would have never in a million years thought that. This game would have been
Stadium.
minus 160.
Yankee Stadium, that's for sure.
No way. But I think the market's telling us something. And
I would say real quick, John, you don't have an echo, but me and Adam both have echoes. Every time he talks, I hear it, and I can hear myself back at myself.
Yeah, I'm going to be jumping off in a second, so maybe they'll fix
I'll
it.
put these. I'll put these on and see if that helps.
Oh.
It might just take a second here to get this right.
Real quick, where the line tonight is concerned, I'll say this. It's for a lot of the call syndicates or early sharp money, it's been a straight fade of Domingo Germán for about 6 or 7 starts now. So there's no money on Germán whenever he starts. So no surprise that there's no money. I don't mean zero money, but you get my idea. The other side is attracting more money because they've been fading Germán for a while. The problem with Nola and why guys like me won't bet Nola in this situation is because his home road splits are miserable. He just continues to be lousy on the road and really, really good at home, which is crazy because Citizens Bank is a tough park to pitch in, but he is real good there. But his numbers dropped tremendously. Last time out against Chicago, he got slammed. A couple starts before that, he only lasted 2 2/3. So he's been a bad road pitcher. So that would keep me off against the Yankees. But you know what? When you get late in this game, guys, the Philly bullpen is always an object of concern. It's been better lately, but Aroldis Chapman is a real concern right now. So the Yankees aren't necessarily in much better shape at the very end of this game either. So there's a lot of back and forth you could do with this one. I think maybe because we're in the middle of summer, the weather is what it is, and the bats seem to be going all over Major League Baseball right now. Maybe this thing leads to an over tonight.
I like that play too. What do you think of the minus 1.5 run line?
On the Yankee side?
The Phillies. I think they're plus 120, I think I saw last. Minus 1.5.
Yeah, it would be hard for me. Although the Philly bats, like I say, the Philly bats are really, really good lately too. You guys watch enough baseball, you know. I'm not saying anything brand new here. But it'd be hard for me to lay 1.5 with the Phils in this game.
I mean, I just don't lay minus 1.5 pretty much ever, but if you were gonna do it, you want to do it on the road. Make sure you've got, you get all 9 at bats. So I guess that's the only redeeming quality I could see in the -1.5 here is you'd be taking it with the road team, so you're going to get your 9th at bat, and even better yet, it almost is like extra innings really benefits the -1.5 if you're on the road now, because it's like you're just asking for a big inning in extra innings with the guy starting on second. So that's really all I have about -1.5. I'm not much. I almost never lay. I'm more of a take the +1.5 in good spots in baseball. That's sort of my thing. So yeah, but
that's a Tony Finn. I'm probably echoing still.
I thought he was going to shoot. No, yes, I am. You're not, John. You don't echo at all.
Oh, no? Okay.
No. It's only me and Adam.
All right.
At least in my headsets. Yeah, I thought Tony was going to chew my head off yesterday because he hates when I lay 1.5 with a home team. But when Washington wins 18-1, it's all right to do.
He does. It's a pet peeve. He said he's never, ever bet a run line game with a home team.
And he's not alone. There's guys that live by that standard.
I won't. I won't
sense.
lay -1.5 at home. So
it makes complete sense from just the standpoint that you get more at bats on the other side. If you're going to lay run line with a home team, it's easier to lay a half a run in 5 innings because you'll both get the same 5 at bats. But sometimes the price is, at least in my case, a little tough to be ignored. And that +145 last night with Washington against that Miami team. They made it easy on us. It doesn't always work that way, but they made it easy on us last night.
Yep.
Well, guys, listen, I gotta jump off today, but I am on the Bucks -4.5 with 4 units, and I posted my write-up, so come over to Twitter @TopFlightSI. I also have it up on my Sports Memo homepage. So just Top Flight Sports in the drop down, and I posted my full analysis for Bucks -4.5 there. So hopefully I'll get it for the 4th straight time. I really can't even. I don't always bet the NBA Finals. Last year I made 1 NBA Finals bet, and I didn't bet Game 1 or Game 2. I kind of jumped in with the Bucks in what I thought was a good spot in Game 3, and I haven't found a reason to not keep betting them. So we'll see if we can do it for four in a row, which would be a pretty cool way to end the year.
The trend is your friend.
Printing money over there.
That is it. That's a financial term from Wall Street, too. The trend is your friend. Mm-hmm. We need to have Tony Finn on now so we can ask him his word of the day. That was Steve Merrill today talking Bitcoin.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, there's some words I guarantee you will not ever be asked Tony Finn on a live show. And phrases that I know would just get destroyed. But maybe I'll be bold enough to do it. But anyway, Adam, I know you have to get going. Thanks for being part of this, and we'll catch you later. Good luck tonight.
Good luck tonight, guys. Take care.
Take care, Adam.
Nice guy, isn't he?
He's a good guy. Smart baseball handicapper, too. Now, see, I'm still echoing. I don't know why. Is it on my end?
I don't know either. But we can try to fix it here.
It's only my voice. It's not yours.
Yeah, it's usually both when it happens, but well, I don't hear you don't echo on my end, so I'm guessing. Let me ask Max on record if you're echoing.
Yeah, because Adam was echoing too. But I thought it's because he's in the empty room, but it looks like he's moved in pretty well now.
Yeah, and it could be a simple thing that that you have to have that one box checked on the cam mic thing.
Check it out, John.
Like you have to have stereo audio checked, echo cancellation not checked, and then everybody on the show has to have the same thing.
Okay, so I'm good there because stereo audio is checked and echo cancellation is not, so I'm good there.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't hear an echo at all, so I'm suspecting that the quality is pretty good in the on the show.
Good deal.
Thank you, Nick Lelek. He says that you are still echoing on here. Both he and Adam were, but John was not.
That's exactly what I'm hearing.
And then Nick Cubs Sports says, "You're good, John." Well, we already knew that, right?
We did. We did.
And Rob is still echoing.
Yeah.
Well, folks, apologize for that. Hopefully it's not too bad. I can't imagine that it would. It's usually when the host has the echoing going that it's crazy. Well, anyway, we have Max on record. We got to show this guy. And thank Nick Hub Sports there, too, for helping us out with how the sound quality is. So I asked Max on record on several occasions, and then finally today I was doing a show. I think I was doing my solo show on the Major League Baseball angle of the day. And he was in the chat room. He's probably number 2 on the all-time list for missed shows and for the least missed shows. And you're number 1, Rob.
Oh,
So
right.
he's probably missed 1.5 shows. But anyway, a big shout out to him and everybody else in the chat room to support us. But a meathead, I asked him, what is the definition of a meathead? Because I haven't heard anybody else called DeChambeau meathead. But Max on record, I want you to know that when he made that ridiculous statement to the press after his second round, that the reason he played poorly was because the manufacturer of the driver screwed up, in so many words. And Rob, I can tell you that in my bowling leagues, golf leagues, whatever, if I hit a bad shot, have a bad day, it's me. It's not the equipment. It's never the equipment. I mean, it's the guy holding the stick. It's the guy with the ball in his hand. The same thing in baseball. I mean, what are you going to do? Blame a baseball that you had a bad start? It just was really, he's such a polarizing guy. I was starting to like him, and then I heard that. And I was like, well, I can invest my love for golfers somewhere else. But, like I said, Morikawa, the tender age of whatever he is, like 22, that when he accepted the Champions Trophy, that was incredible. It didn't seem rehearsed. It just was, how he felt and right from the heart. So I think he's he's a star already. But I think he's the potential superstar that could actually be number 1 here pretty soon and distance himself from the rest of the field in a similar fashion that Tiger did back in the day. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. Speculation is never a good thing when it's not backed by data and facts. All right, so with this Aaron Nola thing, I think he's going to pitch tremendous tonight. I'm not saying he's going to pitch a no-hitter, but I think we're going to see a repeat performance of no earned runs, maybe one. Of course, he could hang a curveball and it could get crushed. But when I wanted to get a baseball in, and I'll do it on Friday when Steve Merrill's on. And the thing with a curveball and what creates a hanging curveball is not necessarily the location not being hit. It's when you're coming through with the ball and you go too much like this. And I'm exaggerating. You go too much with the thumb up toward 12 o'clock on the release. And instead of staying on top of the ball and letting the laces do the work. And clearly, you can't throw a curveball improperly, Rob, at 2,510 RPMs if you're not staying on top of the ball. And I wish I could watch the live spin rates with him pitching in the first inning. I could tell you right then, I think, with pretty good accuracy, how the night's going to go. But with the Yankees bats, they're going to be swinging at just about anything close to the plate. He's very good first pitch strike. 67% of all first pitches that he throws are swings, which, as I said before you came on the show, that means it can't be a ball, right? If the batter's swinging, it's either a hit, a home run, foul ball, or a miss. So that puts him ahead of the count. And when batters at the Major League Baseball level are 0-1, the batting average drops between 50 and 75 basis points. So you have a 320 hitter 0-1 against a guy like Nola, especially. His batting average now is 250 for the rest of the at-bat. And it's even worse for the Yankee hitters because they're so free swinging. You can't You can't take an aggressive hitting team like that and tell them to take pitch, first pitch, or wait till 2 strikes and swing. You can't do that. It just would not work. But I think the Phillies, I might play them tonight on the window for real for like a 4-unit run line, which is kind of on the bold side. I might split it up 80%. Well, I'd probably go 75% money line, 25% run line if I split it up. For what it's worth. What do you have anything going at WagerTalk tonight? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, NBA. Obviously, we're in Game 6 now. Adam just let us know his feelings on that game. And Major League Baseball I didn't put up yet, John. I'm probably going to put 2 up when we conclude here. But, with Tuesday and the Phillies-Yankees being one of them, not that I'll be on that game, but, umpiring crews are so important. And when you're starting the series on Tuesday, last night's series openers, we can tell who's going to be behind the plate today. We know all those games, but the games that weren't played yesterday, we don't know. So there's a couple of things still hidden here that I'm looking for. But we'll be up there. Last night,
That's
Washington was good. Houston was not. I had Houston on the run line. They gave up 1 in the top of the 8th to Cleveland with 2 outs to only win 4-3. But Major League Baseball's been pretty good as of late. Hadn't been good all season long. Only been good the last 7 days or so.
Yep. And here's a nice little summary of Rob Veno that I took a screenshot of just about half an hour ago. And you can see the records are outstanding across the board. And you have been the top NBA handicapper at WagerTalk 2 years in a row, which is a very rare feat among the best of the best professional sports bettors. And that's a point to make. This is not a show with guys just giving out opinions or whatever type of shows there are that are not like ours. I mean, we're real guys. I saw your $6,000 ticket on Twitter. That was a winner.
Oh, but that wasn't mine.
Oh. Well,
that was a client. That was a client thanking me for that play.
Oh, well, that's even better.
Yeah. That's the only reason I posted that was because it was a client who sent it to me. I forget.
That's very
was
cool.
An NBA play. Just kind of happy that night that he cashed that thing, so I put it up for him.
Yeah, I didn't look at it close enough to see what book it was, and I could have easily seen that it wasn't possibly you unless you were traveling.
Yeah, no, I don't. We don't get tickets, so I wouldn't have one to
well, that's true.
To post. We're
yep.
obviously online bettors here, and we don't print out tickets after we make a play. So, yeah, that was definitely a client from Las Vegas who was a little bit happy that he got the cash.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Even at Parks Casino, they don't. It goes right into. I guess even at the window, it goes right onto your app. So that's a good rule too. I'm 99% sure that's how it is. But you're right. The only thing I could show is a ticket from an app.
Right.
But the old school way is still pretty cool.
Yeah, for those who can still get them. That's the way we used to have to do it. Walk up to the window, get your paper ticket, and then come back and cash it. That's the fun part.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see times where you didn't want to go back because you're partying somewhere and having a really good time. But they did give you how long were the tickets good? Was it a week or 30 days?
No, they used to be good for a year.
A year, okay.
In case you left town, you'd have a chance to get back or mail it in or whatever.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I have to get out there and sign up for the Circa and the Super Contest too.
Yeah, Tony Mejia just told us on NBA Tip-Off that he made his arrangements for the end of August to be out there to sign up for the 2 contests. So he was looking to hook up with Tony Finn for maybe a possible night that requires bail money. Who knows?
Yeah, I heard Ranieri say that they required bail money. Now, the combinations we have had on this show strike greater fear of bail money being required than Tony Mejia hanging out with Tony Finn. I mean, that's going to be a quality night. You know, they might not even go out. They might stay at Tony Finn's house.
Well, there's plenty of damage that can be done inside a house, too.
That's true. That's true.
But, yeah, I don't know. You know, we see Tony always straightforward, you know, hardworking, mild-mannered, and free time. Maybe Tony gets a little wild. Who knows?
We all do, I think. You know, it's the nature of our business too. You know, trading. Traders were always fairly big partiers. You know, especially on the retail side. But you know, not that that's a bad thing. You know, you just don't get behind the wheel of a car. Plain and simple.
Right.
And that's why my nickname over at my golf club is Two Beer Johnny. And just like Johnny Detroit, we both do not like being called Johnny. Do not like it for a second, Rob. Probably the only thing that gets me a little, depending on who says it to me, it might be some jerk that is trying to be funny and he's not.
Right.
But it's Two Beer Johnny for a reason. That I the last thing I need in my life ever is to see those red lights flashing, and what is it in Pennsylvania? 0.08. No, in my luck, I'd be 0.09 on 3 pints of beer. Even though I'm, over 200 pounds and almost 6'3". I just don't. It just scares me to death. Yeah.
I haven't tested it here in Pennsylvania, so thank goodness for that. But yeah, I mean, it's not a good move anymore, John. I mean,
nope.
If I think back to when guys like you and I were 17 and 18, it was a different deal back then.
Oh, it was.
Totally different deal. I mean, not proud to say that we did it, but I know almost all of us did it. That was just what we did. Man,
it was part of growing up.
A lot of cars back then, seatbelts weren't even really used. So we played with fire. Let's put it that way.
We did.
Not only with the police, but with a lot of other things. And I think the way things are set up right now are a heck of a lot better than, the way it was when we were younger, for sure.
I'm looking at the chat room here. Did you ever, well, I'm sure the answer is yes. Occasionally we would make a run over to New Jersey where the drinking age was 18 and then, come back across the bridge, of course, at 1:30 in the morning or 2 and
right.
It was, I never drove, I'll tell you that, but the danger wasn't whether you were driving or not. It was who was driving, and you're in that car, and, that's young and dumb.
No, there's no doubt about it. And for us, the county, Fairfield County in Connecticut, where I'm from, it was across the state line to Port Chester, New York, where bars were still open. And, we would do the same thing, John. So there's some nights where, again, when you're young, you don't really think about consequences. You just think in the moment. And you're right. Whoever's driving, that's like the starting pitcher for the day. That's who you're betting on or against. And a lot of times you wind up in a car where you'd be betting against, and you don't want those odds.
No way. But anyway, smart stuff for our younger listeners. But now they have Uber, and
Sure.
That's a really good thing because they use it. They definitely use it, and that's fine. And that takes care of everything. There is a question here. I think you're probably the one to answer it. Nick Lalick. I hope I'm saying his name right. That's the thing with our names, Rob. Rob Veno. You cannot mispronounce that. You can't say Veno. And John Ryan, I mean, you can't mispronounce that either, right? We're lucky. But I do my best. But it's those Russian, Latvian hockey guys that are related to Tony Finn that I cannot pronounce to save my life.
That's what we need him here for.
Yep. Oh, yeah. So you guys think the Nats will try to make a push now that the Mets and Braves look like they may falter? What do you think about that one?
Well, Max Scherzer's name is prominently mentioned currently in trade talks. I don't think that the Nationals believe that they are in real contention, and by real contention I mean making a run in the playoffs. So it's always hard for these GMs, John, and especially in a case like where the Nationals are right now, right? Their record is not worthy of going out and acquiring somebody and looking to make a push. But then again, you come off of a game last night where you win 18-1. You're playing a Miami Marlins team that is decimated lineup-wise right now, so they may sweep this series if things all go their way. And, if you put in a real good week, all of a sudden your record is different next Monday, and management has a new decision on their hands. So it's not easy for those guys organizationally, when the team sort of is teetering on the brink of buy or sell. You got to make a firm decision at that point. If it were me, I don't think Washington, like I say, is a true contender, so I would look to sell. You could probably bring back a fortune in a trade for Max Scherzer if they choose to do so. I'm not recommending that they do, but if they feel like that's their prize chip and they want to get younger and they want to get multiple players back with potential, then you do make that move. Steven Strasburg's not coming back. Pat Corbin has been bad. The starting pitching really hasn't been good all season long. Juan Soto taking off right now as far as the offense is concerned. And the offense has been good. But I don't think I would do it. I don't think the Nats will be a team that pushes in on the playoffs here. Mike Rizzo, the GM, he's an ultra-positive guy, and I think he always takes that mindset, so it's hard to guess what he would do. But I think if it were me, I would say no.
And I think I've actually heard this mentioned a couple times today, Freeman, Braves, that it is likely that he will be a one-year rental and then re-sign with the Braves. And I would think, my guess is that, San Diego Padres maybe is where he would want to land and then, play for a championship. And then if they do, that's great. If not, then he comes back to the Braves no matter what.
Yeah, kind of like what happened with Aroldis Chapman a few years back to the Cubs and then back to the Yankees the following season. Yeah, that's interesting. I had not heard that yet. But Freddie Freeman's a quality bat. And also a very good first baseman for anybody that would be willing to pay. I'm sure you have to pay a steep price for that rental. But, yeah, he's a difference maker. That's for sure, John. He's a difference maker somewhere. We'll see if that comes to fruition here. At this time of year, this window, so to speak, between now where we're at July 20th and the deadline is the 31st. So this 11-day window, we're going to hear a lot of things. And how many of them come true, we're soon to find out. But as bettors, it affects everyday betting in one instance because you're always looking to see if your starting pitcher is even going to make that start. Did he get traded in the middle of the day? Or lineup-wise, is a guy not going to be in the lineup because he got traded at 3 o'clock for a 7:05 start? So it's tough. And then, of course, futures board. We've talked a lot here on the remainder of the season and who we would like on the futures board. And that futures board, I think this season, as much as any, is going to swing mightily dependent upon these trades. I think that 3-team race in the West is crazy right now because the Dodgers, who are considered so deep, are in desperate need of starting pitching. So they'll be active. The Giants, we know, are going to be active. The Padres, you just mentioned, potential trade for Freddie Freeman. They'll be active. So you're going to create some bidding wars if you're a seller here. So it'll be fascinating to see, and it's really, really hard to play futures board right now without knowing, who's going to be on your team after 4 o'clock on the 31st.
I would think the Phillies, and again, this is just from my more in-depth research, prompted by ideas that you have said, Adam has said, anybody that comes on the show, my mind starts thinking out of the box. Mm-hmm. And, I take these deep dives off the high board, and I do think the Phillies are a closer away from winning the National League East. And as ridiculous as it sounded when Tony Finn said that Well, if I could get the Phillies at 70,000 to 1, or whatever it was that he said.
Yeah, 7,000. Yep.
7,000. That is a bet I think you make. And I rarely, we talk about futures bets all the time, but back in the day where you did have to go to the window, I didn't want my money tied up getting no interest. Right. If I was going to put 1,000 or more down on a game or a team, a futures bet, and have it sitting there, it bugged me. It just didn't seem like a smart thing to do. So it stuck with me, and even though you can do it now freely, I mean, my goodness, you have in-game futures bets now for a PGA Tour during a major championship of 4 days of length. There's nothing that you can't do. So now it's starting to become a more relevant choice to make. And if I ever did do one, I think this Phillies thing might be the one. Because they could make some noise in the playoffs, too. They got a guy named Bryce Harper. And you and I have seen him hot when he was with the Nationals, and we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I think when you go down that lineup right now, John, just the fact that Andrew McCutchen is playing better than he's played in a Phillies uniform right now. Gene Segura is a professional hitter. JT Realmuto is a professional hitter. Rhys Hoskins, a little sporadic, but still dangerous. And you add in Harper, they've got plenty of bats and plenty of offensive explosiveness in that lineup. I think that if you're looking for a closer, the most obvious thing to do, and I don't know what it would cost, is you go to the Cubs and you see what it costs to get Craig Kimbrell. Craig Kimbrell has been outstanding this year. Reborn as a 35-year-old reliever who can't be touched at this point in time. So, and a guy with experience. So you're not putting a young guy in the ninth inning. There's a guy that would thrive in that situation. So he's an option. And I think let's get back to the futures point real quick here, because if you're going to tie your money up, like you said, a lot of guys don't want to tie their money up for 60, 70 days, whatever it would be till the end of the season. But if you're going to take a shot on a team with legitimate high odds like the Phillies have here, so I don't know what it is. I don't know if Tony was just rattling that off the top of his head or what the Phillies are at this point in time to win NL pennant, to win World Series. But the point is, when you make that bet, if they do get to the playoffs, and that's really what you're betting, just if they get there, because the hedge opportunities become huge at that point, at that price, with that ticket in your pocket. You'd have to be a fool to not be able to lock up some sort of profit at that point. So really, when you buy that ticket, you're thinking, I'm going to guarantee myself a profit 60 days from now. It's not really as much of a long shot as people might think when they first hear us talk about it. You're making that play with other things in mind. You're not making that play thinking, well, Philadelphia's definitely going to win the World Series, and I'm getting 77,000 to 1 or whatever. You're thinking it's more along the lines, if I get there, well, then I've got 5 different ways that I could make money with this ticket in my pocket, and your original cost. As long as you exceed that, you're in good shape. So those types of numbers maybe are worth it, even though as long as the bankroll can support it, right? I don't want to suggest that to anybody who doesn't have a big enough bankroll and expose it. Nobody would expose, 50% of their bankroll to a futures bet. Nobody's going to do that. But if it's something you can do, always keep that in mind, that the hedge opportunities are just as good as, they're not going to pay as much, but they certainly put you in a position to make money. And those of us who bet these things 365 days a year, or 363, I guess, maybe there's 2 days without action because of All-Star. Well, even with the Home Run Derby now, I guess there is action every day because you can bet on all these things.
That's right.
So 365 days a year, that's all you're looking to do. You're looking to secure profits when the opportunity arises. And the Phillies, with the Mets in the shape that they're in right now, who knows about DeGrom? We don't know. But I think the more killer injury at this point is Francisco Lindor.
Agreed.
That timetable has not even been announced yet, John. So that's a big one. They're lucky they got J.D. Davis back the other day. He immediately came in and hit 2 home runs. So the lineup is good, but it's not the lineup that they thought it was going to be. And remember, The guy who bought the Mets this year, I'm forgetting his name, but he is an investment waiting to happen. I mean, he came in the way the Phillies new ownership came in, and we got all this money, and we're going to spend it all, and we're going to buy everybody. And so it could be an arms race between those two teams, which would actually be fun to watch, because the Phils and Mets, if there is a rivalry, a legit rivalry in the NL East, it's the Phillies and the Mets. It's nobody else.
Yep.
It's not the Braves and Nationals, or Braves and Phillies, or Nats and Mets. It's the Mets and Phillies. Quick trip up by 95, and there's been some action between fan bases in the last few years that have heated it up a little bit. So it would be good for fan viewing the last 2 months to see Philadelphia and the Mets in a neck-and-neck race to the finish.
By the way, the Phillies are 50-1 to win the World Series, 22-1 to win the NLCS, plus 425 to win the division. 2.5 games out. I know, if we had other people with us on the show, for example, or even in the chat room right now, they're probably saying that, you can't take the Phillies because they play more than 5 innings, and then they get into the bullpen. The bullpen's been erratic. Last 7 games, I should say, ERA, the bullpen's under 3. I think I remember seeing like 2 point something along those lines. It was a high 2. And, maybe the pitching coach has gotten that worked out. And I read a huge article. The pitching coach worked with Aaron Nola about the inconsistency. And, as I said, I'll show that pitch, and even at the pro level, as basic as this sounds, when you stay on top of the ball when you're throwing those breaking pitches, at the pro level you have to. Otherwise, you're going to throw something that has no bite, and it's going to get hit a ton. In fact, it's been proven by the laws of physics that the furthest ball hit will be a curveball thrown because of the way the spin changes when it's hit on the barrel of the bat. It's not a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, which I always found that to be interesting. You would think right away that was the case.
Well, you know what? In the baseball I've watched, the ball that gets hit the farthest is the hanging slider. That thing gets destroyed.
Yep.
There's a lot of nicknames for it, but a lot of people will call it a cement mixer just because it spins just like a cement mixer. It's going nowhere. It just sits in the middle of the plate and begs to be hit by anybody with a bat. And boy, those things travel. Wow, they travel.
They do. And that's it's the same type of spin because your fingers are on the side of the ball and usually together. But that's the reason why, because that's a similar type of spin. But back to Aaron Nola, curveball at 2,510 average. That's just ridiculously good. And obviously, he's not using any foreign substances to be doing that now. That is really, really high. And I'll find out for the show tomorrow whether it is the highest in Major League Baseball, and I'm willing to bet that it is. I can't remember the last time I saw 2,500 on a curveball.
Now, a guy like Rich Hill, who probably has the biggest breaking ball in the major leagues, would his RPMs not be as high because he doesn't throw as hard?
That's one factor. Yep. Let me pull it up here because I can.
The break on Rich Hill's curveball his entire career is as good as I've seen out of anybody, as far as 12 to 6 is concerned, or even horizontal movement, any type of movement. But then he's had blister problems his entire career throwing that pitch.
Yeah, and that's the trouble. Especially at the collegiate level, because the seams are actually higher on the ball than at the Major League Baseball level. Even in the minors, the seams are higher than they are at the Major League Baseball level. So Rich Hill, I just hit him, and why didn't anything come up? That is really bizarre. Oh, here he is. This took a while to come up. StatCast. One of my favorite sites to look at. Throws fastball, a four-seamer. He basically has 6 pitches according to StatCast. Now, I'm willing to bet that some of them are modifications like Jamie Moyer used to do.
Right,
He
right.
he had a curveball that he threw 17 different ways, and that's no exaggeration. He threw it a lot of different ways, and that's what kept batters off balance because he would give them a different look every single time. Curveball 38% of the time, slider 4.7. Here, slider and cutter are essentially the same pitch. Sinker and a four-seam fastball. It's probably his four-seam fastball just happened to sink a little bit on that particular pitch because it's only 3.5%. Now, if you truly have a sinking fastball, then you would throw it all the time because it generates a lot more ground ball outs than fly ball outs. And you can't hit a home run the last time I heard if you hit it on the ground. So let me see if I can switch the speeds.
It's like Darvish has about 9 pitches, but they're probably variations of pitches. In fact, Darvish was at Citizens Bank Ballpark pitching the day I was there a couple of weeks ago, and we were looking at the board, my son and I, to see. Let's count how many different pitches they actually list for this guy. We got as high as 5.
Wow.
Which means that, for this guy to have what a lot of announcers you hear tell you that he's got a 8 or 9 pitch repertoire. It's got to be 5 with variations of a few of them because I can't even name 9 pitches anymore, John. I mean, nobody throws a fork ball, a pitch of the 70s. He doesn't throw a knuckleball, to the best of my knowledge. So it is interesting.
Yeah, it is. So I have spin direction.
Okay.
They actually track it like looking at a clock. 12.6 is downward movement, which is what Aaron Nola. I bet you it would say 7:30 for his direction. All right, here, swing take. First pitch strike percentage, chase percentage. It's always the thing you're looking for that you can't find. This is crazy. There's velocity again. Let's see. Let's get him in a matchup. He's with Tampa Bay, right? Still.
He is. So Baseball Savant has an interesting.
That's where I'm at. But I'm on the StatCast side.
It says during his career, at given times, Rich Hill's curveball spin rate has averaged over 2,800 RPMs.
Wow.
Ranking in the 93rd, 94th, 95th, 95th, and 89th percentile. I don't know what years those are. It just says throughout his career. It doesn't mean it's this year.
But still. Yeah, spin rate 2720 is for this season. I finally found it.
Yeah, I mean, that thing is just, it's crazy, his curveball. And he's got that high leg kick to go with it.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily traveling fast. I don't know if you have velocity, but Rich Hill throws his curveball, low 80s? I'm going to guess maybe high 70s, low 80s.
Yeah, that's probably correct. When is he pitch next? Do you know offhand?
We can find that out real fast.
Because then I'll just go to that game.
So he will throw. Here we go. Rich Hill's going to throw on Friday the 23rd.
All right.
It's at Cleveland.
That's not letting me do it. It won't go out that far.
Oh, okay.
But it is something to look at for tomorrow's show for sure. We could rank the high spin rates for curveball people.
Yeah, there's certain curveballs you see that you're like, oh my God. And you're right, Kershaw has one of those as well.
Yep, and he's one that throws that spike curve as well. And that's usually the one that I think is in the 60s. He throws that every once in a while, and you're really throwing a baseball with one finger. And when you have the same arm speed as a fastball, even from 60 feet 6 inches, the average person would be made a fool of trying to hit a ball off of those guys. That's a non-baseball player.
Yeah, and it's even crazier in Clayton Kershaw's case because he repeats that delivery, which is unique in itself. How he can repeat that delivery pitch after pitch after pitch, that's a feat in itself, to tell you the truth. Because when you talk about pitcher mechanics, all they have to do is be a millimeter out of sync, and all of a sudden, the results are not what they expect. This guy, it's quite even out of the stretch. It's just unique and hard to repeat, but he seems to master it.
Yep. Yeah, I'll take a look at this because I can list actually every single pitcher in Major League Baseball right now and where they rank for every pitch. And I do have miles per hour on here. Yeah, so here I can do it. Henry Hill.
Yeah, he's a beauty.
I don't think he pitched in the majors.
Now, he probably bet on the majors.
I'm sure of that. I don't know why it's running so slow. Here I did a quick search using the F5. Rich Hill. Let's see if I can get him. Tim Hill. Rich Hill, second guy. Here we go. 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Again, with a grain of salt, that sinker is 87.3, and that makes no sense to me that it would be 6 miles an hour slower than a four-seam. That's they should combine those. Cutter. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing here. So this is spin. This is in the. This is spin rate. So that's his fastball is in the 93rd percentile, which is very good. And this is spin based versus observed, and we can talk about the difference tomorrow. But he is ranking pretty high here. So that's Tim, and then we have Rich. Here's Rich again. 93rd percentile there. His cutter is not so good. 47th. Change is 96th. And a slider is 90th. Curve is 96th. So that's just ridiculously good. And whatever he throws his fastball at, when you have all-speed stuff is that good, a change and a curve, it makes your fastball look like 102 miles an hour,
right,
even if you're throwing at 90.
Right.
And we had a batting machine, and they're pretty common at the academies that threw 100 miles an hour, and you didn't have to worry about it hitting you, and you could try to attempt to hit it, and it's crazy. I used to do this with the teams too, especially like a 12-year-old team where we go into a bigger tournament and they're going to throw, they're going to face consistent kids that can throw legitimately in the 70s. You always hear of a kid throwing 75, but dads and coaches like to embellish it a little bit and make it much faster than it really is, sometimes by as much as 15 miles an hour. But what I would do is the week before getting to the tournament, we'd go into the cage, 10 swings at 50 miles an hour, 10 at 55, and just go right through the team each round. And then we would get all the way up to 80. And that would be throwing from the 50-70 format of Ripken baseball, so 50-foot mounds, 70-foot bases. And when we came back down the ladder, then they would all remark that now the ball looks bigger. What happened? And it's true, and it is a phenomenon of our minds that, even if you haven't seen 75 miles an hour in your life, and you see 80 for a while, and then you come back to 75, not so bad.
Not so bad.
But 100 is 100. You can start fouling it off after about 50 attempts, but it sings. The ball sings. It's a cool sound.
Yeah, you better start that swing about as soon as he's coming out of the glove with it.
Yeah, I'd have to choke up halfway up the bat to even have a prayer.
Yeah, some of these guys, their bat speed is so quick, and they get to these 97, 98s like they're nothing, I mean, other guys, longer swings, certainly don't get there, but these guys with the compact and quick wrists, right through that thing quickly.
Yep.
So it's different. But that's, they're professionals. They see that stuff all the time. For the regular person, and even somebody, I mean, it's a long time ago, somebody who played ball for quite a while, even then, John, I mean, in high school, 80 was between 8 and 85 looked like, I remember facing a kid who looked like J.R. Richards from the Astros, and he's throwing, and they're on top of you before you even know what's going on. So, in the beginning, you're happy just to hit that ball, but it takes a while, a lot of practice to get used to that.
Yeah,
and then
for
you're
sure.
guessing, right? Like you're saying with Rich Hill, when it's all coming out of the same arm slot, when it's all coming with the same arm speed, and you have to guess off speed or fastball, you know what? A lot of the stuff these guys do at the plate is guesswork. They don't even know. They're just guessing. Well, I'm going to eliminate pitch A, B, and I'm looking for C, and that's it.
Yeah, and you're talking old school here, and it was a fundamental thing I taught every single team, and I learned it from old timers that are no longer here. And what I would do if I was the Yankees tonight with Aaron Nola, and his pitch being that curveball, when I have 2 strikes on me, I'm getting up on the plate,
right?
And if he wants to try to strike me out with a curveball, he's got to throw it. You almost create an opportunity to get an outside pitch called for a ball instead of a called strikeout by crowding the plate. And you saw Pete Rose do that all the time. He would choke up on the bat and get all over the plate, And back in the day, what would Roger Clemens do then on a 1-2 count? If you crowded his plate, you're going to get the tower buzzed on that pitch.
No question.
And that doesn't happen anymore in baseball. If it does, it's by accident. But that's what I would do tonight against Aaron Nola if I was the Yankees. But can you imagine if I was even qualified to be a manager? Can you imagine any manager telling that team, all right, when you have 2 strikes and you're going to choke up on the bat and then crowd the plate yet? That would never happen in a million years, unfortunately. But that's a lost art.
There's 30 teams you can't tell that to.
Exactly.
And the Yankees, organizationally, for a long, long, long time, the philosophy was to grind out at-bats, right? Stand there. Work the pitch count. Let's get rid of the starting pitcher by the 5th inning. Run that number up to 95 and get him out of here. Not run up and free swing.
Yep.
But it's always dependent upon who your roster is and who your personnel is. It's hard for a lot of guys to be patient and for a lot of guys to not chase. Those of us who watch baseball on a nightly basis for a long, long time, you'll get frustrated with guys, and the first words out of your mouth are, what the hell are you swinging at? Well, we all say it more than once a night, and some guys just chase. They just chase. But you brought up a good point, John. It brings me all the way back to when I used to play high school ball, and the theory was back then with a good curveball pitcher was move up in the box and hit the ball before the break is what they used to preach. Get that ball before it breaks. Don't stand back in the box. Get up. Rub that white chalk line out of there and get up, And that's what we used to do. Maybe they still do. I don't know.
It's fun talking about this. It brings back a lot of good memories because if I saw a team doing that, There's one or two things I would then tell the pitcher, and we would practice this in their pitching drills. You shorten the stride. That way, the pitch is going to be even slower, and it's going to break right where they're standing, just like it would if they were back in the box. And then the other one would be to throw high fastballs.
Right.
Especially the younger the team, like a 12U team, can aim for the top part of the strike zone with a guy up in the box, and it's going to be a strike because they don't throw hard enough because of gravity. It's just going to drop right in there, but where the batter is going to be up by, top up here. But I used to do that too with we'd move way up if the pitcher was throwing that. I would call it the crafty lefty instead of saying junk, because I always felt that was insulting. I mean, the kid's out there throwing the best he can. It was usually a crafty lefty that could throw really good change-ups.
Because throughout my entire life, I don't think righties have ever been crafty.
No.
Lefties are the only crafty ones.
Yep, and that's true in any sport. Bowling, lefty, they do actually have an advantage in bowling because not as many guys are left-handed, and the oil pattern doesn't get disrupted as much as with righties. But that's a topic for, I don't know if bowling is in the Olympics to bet on, but it's a sport that I never bet on. But you want to do a final round of prop bets for the game tonight?
Sure.
Or a baseball game? And I'll do the same.
I've got a couple. I'll bring over my material from the NBA tip-off show, which we just did about an hour and a half ago.
That was a great show. I listened to the whole thing. That was a tremendous show.
They had, like we said, we had all of us on there. There had to be 5 of us in there. Generally, Steve and Tony Finn. I don't think they're on there, or maybe Tony Mejia, whatever the combination is. But Joe brought everybody in, which was good. And we're gonna do it again next week or maybe within 9 days for the NBA draft. We did a live NBA draft show last year, and we'll be doing it on July 29th, the night of the draft this year. But let's get the props here, John, because I had a couple that I like quite a bit, and I just don't when we bet these things, I'll say it again, when we bet them, we think they're winners right off the bat. I mean, you're just waiting to get paid, and then, then the game happens, and sometimes you don't get paid. But for tonight on the Milwaukee side, I like Pat Connaughton over 13.5 points and rebounds. Pat Connaughton has been, the ex-Notre Dame guy, has been you know what? For that slight few seconds before I heard that button click, my echo had gone away. Now it's back. Now it's gone.
That's interesting. I'm muting my mic because I had a cough. I'll mute it while you talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't hear myself now. But Pat Connaughton, real quick, his rebounding is really what makes you want to play this because he's been a great rebounder for this team in this series. And I don't say great lightly because, you're talking about a 6'5" wing that, generally speaking, isn't when you have P.J. Tucker and Bobby Portis and all these other guys, you don't rely on Connaughton for the rebounds. But he's been a major factor here. His number tonight is 13.5 points and rebounds. You have to lay 15 cents to do this. But I did. 3 of the last 4 games, he's gone over 20 points and rebounds, which is excessively higher than the 13.5 we're asked to get here. Again, I'll be repetitive in this, but role players at home, and Pat Connaughton's a 3-point shooter, probably one of the best on the Milwaukee side, who didn't get off to a great start in the playoffs, but he's been more accurate as of late. We get 2 or 3 3-pointers out of this guy and some rebounds, and 13.5 is an easy conquest. So I like that one quite a bit, over 13.5, minus 15 cents. And then the other one was Cam Johnson on the other side of the floor. Cam Johnson's number for the same exact bet, points and rebounds, is 11.5. And, in his 5 games, John, I went back, points and rebounds. He's gotten 10, 11, 10, 19, and 13. The last 2 games where Devin Booker has gone crazy with 40 and 42 points, Cam Johnson has basically been eliminated from this offense. Not by the Bucks, just by the fact that they're not giving him the ball to shoot the basketball, which doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense after what we've seen of Cam Johnson in 3 rounds. He might be the most pure three-point shooter they have, but unfortunately for him, his field goal attempts the last 2 games, I think, were 6 and 3. And there's no way this guy should only be shooting an average of 4.5 times the last 2 games. So I think that maybe ball distribution gets a little bit better here tonight, and Cam Johnson knocks down a couple open looks. 11.5 is one of the lowest numbers I've seen on him this entire series. I've seen as high as 13.5, and now we're down to 11.5. So I'm going to play that one. That was an regular juice, 10 cents on 11.5. So give me Pat Connaughton up and over 13.5 points and rebounds. Cam Johnson on the other side over 11.5 points and rebounds. I think those two give you a real good chance to cash tickets tonight. Go ahead. That's my fault because I had you mute yourself.
There we go. Now I'm back. I'm back. Like the Prez said, that's the only way to shut me up or Tony Finn up is to use the mute. So
it's funny because now my echo is gone and you're unmuted. So that's good. Whatever we just did worked.
I figured it out, I think. It has to do with this thing.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I'm almost positive now. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. For those listening now, you shouldn't be hearing any echo whatsoever. Thanks for putting up with us for as long as you did, but now you shouldn't be hearing it at all.
And suddenly our numbers are going up. I think Las Vegas, Chris was in the chat room too, so that's cool. He was trying to give me a heads up that we have an echo.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep, we appreciate that. So now we learned something there too, and we learned something without Tony Finn being on the show, which is truly remarkable. But in this game tonight, I have the over, as you saw in the NBA WagerTalk tip-off show, which is kind of a contrarian play. I know the history is the trends are game 6 and 7, paces slow down. To use the soccer term, the teams play a little bit more cagey, meaning that they won't take as many chances. Maybe the pace will go down. But over the last 3 years, when scoring went up, as you know, by 5 points per game from 2017 to 2018, these trends have reversed. And I think in this matchup, if the Suns want to win, they gotta play at the same tempo they did in Game 5. And as you guys mentioned on the show, I think it was Tony Finn, a team has lost now, making 90% of their free throws, 60% of their three-point shots, and shot 50% overall from the field and failed to win the game. Previous to that, it was 34-0, I think he said.
Yeah, 35-0, yep.
And that kind of gets into my the psyche of this game, too. The Suns went into the fourth quarter of Game 4 feeling like they were going to be up 3-1. You never think ahead. You're always taught that at a young age. You never get ahead of yourself. You stay in the moment. But I don't care who you are. They had to be thinking like, wow, we're 12 minutes away from being up 3-1. Failed. And then, Game 5 was what Game 5 was. 16-point lead blown in a matter of minutes. And that was a good in-game bet again. Pizza money, no more than 1 unit. But I did get Milwaukee at the end of the first quarter plus 12.5, because as Ski Profit says, and I just picked this up, his theme about using your eyes and believing what your eyes are seeing, essentially. And he talks about that. You watch the game, you see how the game's played, and it really did help, because in that first quarter, the way Phoenix was shooting, I guess they shot 80% from the field, with the exception of that three-point half-court shot that missed to end the first quarter. So what did they shoot? 77%? And you could just tell that, my humble opinion, you could feel it. Just like, when I used to trade on the floor, you could feel the pulse of the market. And you could feel that, that you were 10 minutes ahead of the market and 10 minutes ahead of the basketball game. And that was one of the most confident in-game bets I've ever made. And usually when I'm like that, Rob, it's not a good sign. If I make a an in-game bet, and I'm thinking like, oh man, I should have just waited a little bit longer here. But that's the thing with having a plan. And when you have a plan determined before the game starts, it doesn't change.
Right.
You know,
Right.
my plan was to take Milwaukee if they were behind in the first quarter. Well, I got lucky; they were behind by 16.
Right.
And the point was that they were going to at least pick up 3.5 points between there and the end of the game, and cover that. Same thing tonight in the total. And what I think is interesting in this total is I think this is a game that I wouldn't be surprised to see this game. Like if I win the over, I wouldn't be surprised if it wins by 1 or 2 points. I think it's going to come really close to that number, say 225, 227. Again, if it goes according to what my models say. But I think this is a game you can play middle. And you'll have periods of time like you had in Game 5 where the scoring, one point in that second quarter, I always talk about that 8.2 points per minute level, which is scorching hot. And then you wait for 3 minutes of that. And if it's still at that level, there's usually a timeout because it's the one team doing all the scoring, and you get a chance during the commercials to make your bet. And you bet contrarian, so it'd be under. You could have done that in Game 5. And looking at this Game 6, I do think there's going to be times where it's going to be a turtle-like scoring pace. The pace up and down the floor will be incredible, but they won't be making shots. And then there's going to be periods of time in that first half where both teams can't miss. And I do think that I'll go on a limb here. I think you can bet the over in-game in the first half at 210, and then you can bet under at 229.5. And that's all based on the math of implied volatility, which comes from my days in the market. We're evaluating options. So that's something I'm going to try to do tonight with pizza money. I'm going to go 210 on the over, 229.5 under, and we'll see what happens. And I think the last time we did that, Rob, it was the Creighton game. And we won both sides on that one, right? We were on the show together. If I remember
they
right.
were extremely hot the first 5 minutes of that. First 10 minutes of that game, I think they were over 50 points already, which, leads you to a 100-point half, which, is likely not going to happen. And then, the scoring stopped in that game. It stopped.
Like they hit a wall.
Right, and nobody could make anything. So it's always funny to see that in games where, you can't miss a shot or every shot is wide open, and then all of a sudden nothing goes in. But it's the game. And last game was one of those from start to finish where you really had no fear that you weren't going to win the over. And to your point about coming close to the number of 222, let's take the last game and put that aside. That one hit 242 on extreme shooting by both teams. And Milwaukee made 50 shots from the field, but Phoenix made 48. And 98 baskets made in that game was by far the most in this series so far. But the 4 games prior to that, you're talking about games that landed 223, 226, 220, and 212. And the 212 had every opportunity to go over. Again, Drew Holiday's 4 of 20 in that game. If he makes a couple of shots, it becomes a 30% shooter from the field. He probably cashed that over. So as bad as that one was, it still was right there. So this whole series has hovered around this number of 222 tonight. So I can definitely see your point about whichever way it falls, it will probably fall close. You don't expect these guys to shoot it the way they shot it last game when it got to 242. But I'll tell you what you do expect. You don't expect the pace to change in these games. Milwaukee, in no way, shape, or form, is going to back down after playing 4. And remember, sometimes in this finals analysis, what gets lost that we've been saying all year long is that Milwaukee was the number 2 tempo team in the NBA all season long. This is not foreign to them. I think they were 107 per 100 possessions. They were the second highest tempo team and efficiency team in the league. So Phoenix knows they have to play fast. Tony Finn made a great point today on this show. For those who didn't see the NBA tip-off, I'll just reiterate a strategic point that he made. And again, I like listening to Tony because I like to play coach myself and just think of what you could do next. And His idea was if you're going to get killed on the boards, the way Phoenix has gotten killed on the boards, and I'll just use offensive rebounds
boards
here
too.
real quick. The offensive rebounds the last 4 games have gone 59-30 in favor of Milwaukee, plus 29 offensive rebounds. It's crazy. And Tony's point was if you're going to get killed on the boards, then obviously that means, A, it tells you right away the other team is crashing. It's not just 2 guys going to the rim. It's 3 or 4 guys Milwaukee's sending to the rim. So what you do on the other side is you take your guards and take one of them and just leak him out and cherry pick and pray for a miss and make the 3/4 court pass and get a layup on the other end until they stop sending so many guys. Now, if they make shots, I mean, you'd have to be Wes Unseld and inbounds the ball 3/4 right away. You're ahead of the field a little bit, but it wouldn't be the same as off of a miss. So his idea was if you really don't think you can rebound, and I'm sure Phoenix doesn't feel that way. I'm sure they think that they can do some things, box out better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you feel that way and you want to take some chances, leaking out leads to real easy points. And, again, where total is concerned in this series, I mean, I have not once felt comfortable with the under in this series, even though it has gone under one time. I don't think anybody felt comfortable in that 212 final score.
Right.
So we'll see what happens here. You know, I first half over, Steve Merrill made another nice point. Generally speaking, the first half, you know, if you cut the game in half, first half should be 111. It's 109. So you get a little value there in the first half. Last game was the first time that the first half went over, although it was right at the brink of going over 3 other times, but it just didn't make it for whatever flukish reason. So maybe if you like first half over as well, that could be a play here. But we'll see. If you really want to break it down even further, second quarter overs have been almost gold.
Yep.
I think 4 of the 5 second quarters, including the last one, it hit 67 points. So first quarter's been a little slow. Second quarter's been pretty good, I think. And then the second half, one last, for guys who are playing totals, I'm giving you a lot of stuff here, but if you've been playing first half totals, they've gone 4-1 to the under. Second half have gone 4-1 to the over. All the big scoring seemed to come in the second half, but it did come in both last games. So we'll see. You can make these back and forth debates on this series, and that's how close it's been. Although it feels like Milwaukee's a freight train right now, that maybe you don't want to step in front of that freight train. When you really break it down, it's that close. Phoenix, in actuality, could have won 4 games by now. They could have won 4 games by now. They didn't, but they could have. They could have won Game 4 when they had the 9-point lead with 3 minutes left, and they had the ball down 1 with 25 seconds left in the last game. And Devin Booker chose to take the first pass and drive into 4 different colored jerseys, and the result was, pretty much what you would figure it to be. He got stripped from himself, and they lost. So, close series. Stats tell you Milwaukee's dominating, but again, Phoenix has been right there. Can they continue to shoot this well? We'll see.
Well, that's another historical trend that usually ends with an answer of no.
Right.
And then to top it off, when you lose and you know how you lost in a historic fashion, being the first team in 35 games to ever accomplish that kind of prowess of shooting percentages and lose, doesn't help.
Yeah, for the series, I'm just kidding. Phoenix is actually even 50% from the field for the series.
That's amazing.
Through 5 games, and to your point, you ask, if you foresee a close game, Phoenix will have to shoot that well again because they're down 3-2 in a series where they've shot 50%. So in order to be in these games, which they have, they'll have to shoot it again. And to your point, can they? Because if they don't, this is why this game becomes difficult to handicap, because if they don't, you can really envision a double-digit Milwaukee win rather easily if Phoenix doesn't shoot that way. But then the other side of you says, well, they've done it all series long. Why wouldn't they do it again? Milwaukee just can't stop them. It makes it tough. Which side of the fence you going to stand on here? It makes it tough.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. Now, my player prop, I've been riding Middleton, as you know. Mm-hmm. The last 2 games, and at DraftKings he's 38.5 PRA. minus 105. Here at BetMGM, it's 37.5 minus 125. And I'm not sure which is actually better, but I actually think if I'm right on Middleton, he'll be in the 40s. And I don't want to pay the 125 VIG. So there are times where you'll take the worst line and figure that, how many times does your prop bet actually win by half a shot or half a rebound or whatever. Right. It's usually you win by a lot, or you win significantly, or you lose by more than 2 or 3. So I feel pretty comfortable saying Middleton 38.5 minus 105 is the best VIG I see. And then my total of 210 on the over in game, and then 229.5 under. And the part that bothers me is that top part, because that's the part that could end up wrong. But if I get the 210 first, then I feel pretty good. I feel really good actually at 210 as an over. And then, quite honestly, Rob, if I don't get the under because the game hasn't gone that fast during the first half, then that's fine. And I'm already on the over as a 4-unit play with that betting angle that they showed on the WagerTalk show. So that would be the best of the game for me if it started out a little sluggish and I was able to squeeze out that 210. So I'll have to quick rundown of the church and offer up some prayers, I guess.
And for those that were just listening, the Middleton 38.5 is points, rebounds, and assists. It's all inclusive. So you're getting everything with Chris Middleton here. And the good news, whenever you play Chris Middleton, the good news is that if the game is close in the fourth quarter, that team, he's generally the number one option. They get the ball to him. It doesn't. I mean, if Giannis has a play, he's going to go make a play. But if the ball's being worked around, they get it in Middleton's hands and let him go. He's the closer, so to speak, for Milwaukee. And boy, I'll tell you what. I've said it before. He disappears and reappears. But boy, when he reappears, the good Chris Middleton is really, really good. I mean, there was nothing Phoenix could do the other night. He just, throwing 25-foot jump shots in the face of really good defense. And when he gets on like that, he's just very difficult to stop. Great free throw shooter. When he gets to the line, you don't lose out with him there. And he's far more consistent, in my mind, from what I've seen offensively than Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday's in and out. Drew Holiday, guys, for what it's worth, the 2 games he's played really well offensively, and one of them was last game, Milwaukee has been good. They won by 20 in Game 3 when Holiday, I think, was 8 for 14 from the field, was his first really good offensive game. And then last game where he was outstanding, they go on the road and win in what looked like a home court series. They steal one. So when he's been right, they've been really good. But the other 3 games, you add up his field goals, he's 15 of 55, which is horrendous. You don't want anybody shooting 18 times a game and making only 5 of those. So, he's done that 3 out of 5 times. Could he revert back? Absolutely. I would much rather put my stock in Chris Middleton as the guy, as you did, than Drew Holiday to be the second guy where stuff's going. I think somebody on the show, John, shortened it up. I'm trying to remember who, but the bottom line is they bet Drew Holiday assists over 8.5, figuring that they'll trust him passing the ball to the right guy, but they don't really want to trust him to score points here in this game, which may be a good way around it.
I think that was Tony Mejia.
Might have been Tony.
Pretty sure that we give credit to him for that one. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun game to watch. Needless to say.
Yeah, and I think this game, at least in my mind, everybody doesn't feel this way. Obviously, guys are betting full game, but in my mind, it really is, for the most part, a good in-game. It really built for in-game, this one, because in my head, I've gone back and forth 100 times with the side here. And when you get to that point, why not turn it on, see what's going on, and invest from there? You got a little better idea of what's happening. And as you said, if you catch one extreme end, Milwaukee on a 20-0 run, you can come back with Phoenix at a huge plus price. That game, John, too, and I don't know what the in-game was at the end, but that was another game where Phoenix was down big in the fourth quarter, and they rallied the way Milwaukee rallied the game before, right? So you probably could have got a real good plus price on Phoenix at some point in the fourth quarter, at multiple points in the fourth quarter, and cashed in.
It probably was approaching double digits, for sure. I usually, like, I never have bet the second half, with the exception of Oral Roberts against Ohio State, because of time. You do it in the first and second quarter, and you make those bets before halftime. You have the optimal time zone to be right. If you do it at the end there, then it's got to happen, obviously, or not. But yeah, I think even tonight, the contrarian is going to feel contrarian as hell. But when Milwaukee rips off 10 in a row, which they will do, that's when you got to step in and buy the Suns. If you're a Suns fan tonight, that's when you do it. When it looks bleakest is when you do it. And the same thing with Milwaukee fans. It's the same thing. Phoenix is going to score 10 or more, and that's one of the things that I do from time to time. I'm not doing it tonight because I have that total play, and that's enough trouble to get into. But you wait for those 10-0 runs, and they usually end in a timeout, which makes it so much easier to get your in-game bet done. Because when the game's going on, you can select a bet, and then the bet's changed. The line's changed. And by the time you go through 2 or 3 of those, it's been 6 possessions, and now the bet's gone. So I found that to be a really good strategy. Is to not that you're waiting for the timeout. It's just that situation usually the opposing coach calls a timeout to settle things down.
And to your point, throughout the 5 games in this series, we've seen numerous streaks by these two teams. So it's not like it's something that hasn't gone on in this series. It goes on every game in this series because they are playing at pace, and because eventually for a 90-second or a 2-minute span, one side gets really hot and gains momentum. It's happened every single game of this series for the most part. I think maybe Game 3, Phoenix was early. They were the early lead on the road, and then Milwaukee just came back and destroyed them. But yeah, to wait for a streak of points scored by one side to occur and then get in on the other side, it's happened all series long. I mean, I wish I had numbers in front of me, but I don't know anybody at this point in time, and it'd be really hard to calculate in-game numbers. But eventually, we're going to come to a point where there's going to be against the spread numbers for in-game as well, and we'll be able to use those on a show like this. But just from what we've witnessed, it's a good strategy to use, particularly in a series where the game is going up and down. There's no slow ball being played here. No half court, work it around. You score 4, we'll score 2. You score 6, we'll score 3. That type of thing. There's spurts and plenty of them.
It's interesting you bring that up because I am getting a database together of every single score and the time that it was done, the player, basically play-by-play data.
Right.
And I have that in the NFL, and it actually I've been able to do it and start including the video of the play.
Yeah.
So with Python, they have these packages, and this package really started with the ability to scan a scanned document, which is a picture, and have the program be able to pick out words, even though it's a picture. And so now what I'm actually working on, and I think it's going to be really good for evaluating the defenses when we have these NFL shows going forward, is that the program can take a look at the video, measure the distance of separation by the wide receiver, which will be good for a grading of wide receiver. And then it'll grade, for example, the closing speed and the reduced distance of the cornerback or safety on that offensive target. So it's pretty neat stuff, and I think it's going to provide a lot of value. Whether it translates into more ATS wins, we'll have to see. Mm-hmm. But I'm running one last night that was double moves. So for those that don't know, double move is where the wide receiver runs a route, and usually, you run down the field, you turn right or left, or you slant one way or the other. And but then there's a pump fake by the quarterback that usually is intended to catch that cornerback cheating on the route, and then the wide receiver heads vertically downfield, wide open. So I'm working on that to see what comes of that, because I think that really could identify situations for a pro team, and they probably already do it. To set up plays for the following week, because they can look at the game film, they can run these types of programs and applications and get this kind of knowledge about certain tendencies of defenders. I think that would tell me an awful lot as a quarterback. But we'll have to see.
Film study.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is. But I don't have to watch the film really. I'll get the numbers from what the application says, and hopefully it'll be a lot faster than the film study. But the film study is fun too, no question. I watch like you do. I watch the abridged, Reader's Digest versions the next day that are produced by the NFL Network, and you can watch a game in like 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah, and for those who watch the all 22 film, which is shot from above, that will give you some insight to things that are happening on the field. It's why, John, the common belief is that if you're going to the stadium, sitting in the upper levels is a bad place to sit. But on the good side, when you sit in those upper levels and you're watching the game from a bird's eye view, so to speak, you can see things happening that you can't see at field level. And you can tell, hey, that guy's wide open. And they wouldn't see that sitting on the 50-yard line in row 3. So there's benefits to everything, all angles, all everything. But the all-22 film, and that's why coaches watch it, right? That's why coaches use it, because it's far better to teach with. The overhead view, you can see exactly what each guy does, what the defense does, and how a guy got open or didn't get open. So, yeah, or how a blocking scheme worked or didn't work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. For those that are into the fundamentals, the X's and O's, and that type of thing, again, those will bring you point spread results to the positive as well.
Yeah, even you'd be able to see the angles that the cornerbacks are taking at the line of scrimmage, whether they're doing press coverage, whatever the setup is. And that's huge. That's why those guys sit way up at the top of the stadium.
Yeah, it's good stuff for football, no question.
Before I forget, I wanted to just show a few more of our comrades here and what they got going on, because I know
it's $2 Tuesday.
Yeah, and then I forgot who it was on WagerTalk.
Oh, shoot, I don't think I even know.
I forgot who it is, but
I think it was Ronald on the other side.
Yeah, it was the UCapper.
UCapper, there you
Yep.
go.
He's a SDQL guy.
Oh, Tony would love him.
Yep. And that's going away. I don't know what's happening with that, but it's disappointing for a lot of people who have used it for years and years and years. But all good things come to an end, I suppose. But here's Steve Merrill. He's been red hot and crushing the books with his 41-25 ATS NBA run. Game 6 tonight presents an excellent situation. So there's another one that is highly worthwhile. Then we have Tony Mejia, who has a 5%er going tonight. He and I both won the last 5%er he had, which was the under in Game 4. Under Game 4. Yep, that won pretty easily. But still at the end, it was getting a little nervous, like Rob said. And nothing was certain until it was certain.
Yeah.
But Tony Mejia, you can read here what he's been doing here. He's been on a pretty strong run here, to say the least, and that's another worthy candidate for your investment dollars. And then all Tuesday, all MLB, all access for Tony Finn. number one all baseball profit leader at WagerTalk, has 3 best bets from the Tuesday baseball rotation and formed a pick package that includes American League top of the ticket, Major League Baseball run line route, and Tuesday night MLB private play. You can get all 3 of those for just $29 right now at WagerTalk.com. So the only other guy I would encourage you to buy is that John Ryan guy. Because you're watching the show, you can take that code down at the bottom, daily $5, so daily $5. You get my side selection tonight in Game 6. You get the total of the game, which is, I gave that away here, but that's a free add-on. And, for people that don't watch the show, they will get that pick. But you guys can take $5 off the $11 cost, which is already at a sale off the $20 regular price. So you can get it just for $6 on $2 Tuesday. And I'm not even the $2 Tuesday guy. I don't know what my run is right now, Rob, but maybe this is it. No, that was a while back. No. Well, so much for knowing where I'm at right now, but I know it's in the 50s somewhere, and you can see it on sportsmemo.com, so it's not a big deal. But I guess that'll do it for the show. So thanks for spending this hour with me, Rob, just you and me. It's kind of nice once in a while, just one-on-one conversations. But I'm sure tomorrow it'll be a lot more crowded. We have Nick Borman on at 8 a.m. tomorrow for the PGA event. That is the 3M Open. So we're coming back across the pond. And it'll be interesting to see how these guys do, having to do all that travel, play a stressful event that is extraordinarily exhausting physically, and then have to tee it up again for 4 days here back in the States. So that'll be good to see what he has to say about that. And then we have Jesse Schul at 3 p.m. on the Free Sports Picks TV channel. And I actually believe that is all we have for tomorrow. Then on Thursday, it's Don Buster at 11 a.m., preceded by that Joe D'Amico guy at 10 a.m. He's going live, folks. He lives in Las Vegas. That's going to be 7 a.m. his time. So that might be something to really enjoy.
He'll be wide awake.
I will be, but I don't know about him.
The show doesn't come onto these shows not wide awake.
Yeah, that's true. And for those that are following the Bitcoin show with Steve Merrill, myself, and Lawrence the Prez has endorsed, I guess, for lack of a better word. Did you see that, by the way? He told me, actually, he complimented me, and I said, well, it's nice to say, but I'm sure others. And he told me to shut up. He did. He said, John, shut up. If I want to be arrogant and talk about you in a good way, I'm going to be arrogant, and I'm going to do it. So it's funny as hell.
How about that?
Because I don't do that very well when I like talking about others. But I must say, I like my little chart in the background there. With the New York City skyline and behind the window.
Yeah.
And that is
nice.
Bitcoin chart there, just a brief part of it. But we did break 30,000 a day in Bitcoin. And one of two things, it's either going to bottom out here pretty quickly at like 27, 28,000, or we're going to have one of those capitulations down to about 23, all within a single day. There's going to be like a potential for a massive, just complete cleansing of the market. And that's when you step in and you take a look at the buy. Again, very contrarian. So with that said, Rob, I appreciate your time. As always.
Absolutely.
So for WagerTalk, sportsmemo.com, the Predictive Playbook, and Manny's Irish Pub, may all the wins be yours.